how are you? Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Can you hear me?
Great. Wonderful. So, how have you been and where are you connecting from?
Yeah, I've been doing great. It's been a couple of busy days. How about you?
Great. So, I welcome you to the eighth episode of the Global Goals Youth Sustainability Dialogue. And this is an attempt wherein we are trying to bring together change makers, leaders from all across the globe so that we get to know about their journey, their inspirational stories, the wonderful work that they are doing around sustainable development goals, and also, their message which they want to share to the audience, to our audience who are primarily young people, youth. Yeah. So, with this, I welcome you to the eighth episode of the Global Goals. And for all our audience and those of them who will be watching the video later on, when once we get over with the session, we have with us Laura Moncada, who is a youth activist at Generation Equality Forum. She is also the founder of Girl Up Venezuela and United Voices, and she is also the youth editorial at the United Nations Women, and she's been working to edit the newsletters that come out. Yeah, so maybe this is just a brief introduction about Laura, and before we actually begin with the session, welcoming you, Laura, wholeheartedly to be a part of the session, to be a part of the platform, and let's hear from you about your journey, yeah, and the work that you are doing.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for the invitation. I was so happy to when I received the invitation, and I really got so excited because I think these type of spaces are really needed right now, where we can share about how can we engage and make a change in our communities, and how no matter where we come from, we can support each other and help advance the SDGs. And for
Great.
those of you who don't know me, I'm from Venezuela. Um, I am 19 years old and I'm a youth activist for gender equality.
Great. So, Laura, your voice is slightly low. So, can you just check if the audio can be increased a bit?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, yes, yes. Perfect. So, great. I mean, so before we actually begin with the discussion and also the session, why don't you share about your journey? So, how has been your experience so far, and what are the work that you are doing when at the Generation Equality Forum and also at the Girl Up with our audience.
Yeah, sure. So I started, everything started when I founded Girl of Venezuela last year. During the pandemic, it was August. It was almost June. So at the end of August, I decided to create a club that would create a safe space and a safe community for youth in Venezuela who could very confidently call themselves activists for gender equality and feminists, because that is a word that people have a huge stigma about. So I wanted to create a safe space and start advocating for gender equality. And I know that there is power in unity, so I figured that founding Girl of Venezuela was the best thing to do at that moment. And we started as a small team. We were around like 10 people. And today we're more than 100 youth who are advocating for gender equality in Venezuela and in Latin America. Thanks to all the work that we were doing at that moment, we were hosting storytelling rounds where girls and youth in general could share their stories, empowering stories that would inspire others. Um, I would also host educational workshops on gender equality, representation, and how the different areas of society kind of like puts men at an advantage. And that is something that a lot of youth didn't know about. So it was very, eye-opening for them. And after all that work that we were doing, I got an email from UN Women in December inviting me to become part of their first cohort of youth activists. And that is the first time that I started engaging with UN Women officially. They invited not only me, but a huge group of youth activists to start mobilizing other youth to start engaging with UN Women in the Generation Equality Forum. And for those of you who do not know what the Generation Equality Forum is, it is a multi-stakeholder event where members of society, of the civil society organizations, activists, but also enterprises, companies, and governments could all engage in one place and talk about where do we want to go in terms of gender equality. So this is a really important space, and they have been hosting a lot of events and to mobilize youth, and are hosting a lot of efforts in order to call youth to start engaging with this important space, because it is very important for youth to be part of these conversations. Nothing about the youth without the youth, and especially when it comes to gender equality, where girls are the most impacted. They want youth to share their concerns, to propose solutions, make demands, and that is what we have been doing.
That's really inspiring, and that's wonderful to hear from you. So which makes me really curious to ask you my next question, which is, so what is are some of the problems that you are really passionate about, and also which you really look forward to solve through your organization? Yeah, and what are some of the sustainable development goals that you plan to work on in future, or maybe when we look into the 2030 agenda of the Sustainable Development Goals. Yeah.
For sure. So I'm still discovering, what I'm passionate about. I think that happens to all of us. We're constantly finding what we're passionate about. So for now, I'm really focused on educating people on economic justice and rights. So what this theme is about is really how girls are raised to become mothers. Like, no matter if you go to school or if you go to college or even get a PhD, at the end of the day, you're going to become a mother, and that's going to become your main responsibility or your main role in society. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that being a mother in today's society can cause you a lot of can give you a lot of penalizations. For example, the motherhood penalization, where mothers are paid less because they have children, or are not promoted in their workplace because they are considered a main responsibility in the home. So obviously, the bosses will not give them the raise that they deserve, or just recognize their work, because at the end of the day, they're mothers. And there's a bigger wage gap between women that do not have children and mothers than there is between men and women in general. So that gives us, a very big understanding of how society sees mothers. And even if we all recognize that being a mother is the most important job in society, it is not being treated as such. So I'm really passionate about that. About starting recognizing mothers' work at home, which is unrecognized, unpaid, but it's still a very important work that keeps the world going. And I think that it should be recognized. And in terms of the SDGs that I'm really passionate about working and continue advancing, are the SDGs that we're actually working on at United Voices, which are climate action, quality education, and gender equality.
That's really nice, and that's really great to hear from you. This, which takes me to my next question, which is then again in continuation to the discussion that we just did. Uh, what are some of the very pressing challenges that you observed? That we could see or that we could observe during the time of pandemic. Okay, so when we talk about a time frame, then there is a time frame of pre-pandemic era, and then there is a post-pandemic era. Yeah. So, what, according to you, what were some of your observations around the challenges, that the problems which accelerated during the time of pandemic, and how do you what are some of the solutions or maybe ideas you have in your mind in order to resolve those problems or those challenges?
For sure. So I think problems that women and girls faced before the pandemic are the same after the pandemic, just exacerbated. You know, they just grew to another level. And an example of this would be gender-based violence. So, just to give you a more specific information, in Venezuela, back in March when our lockdown started, there were more death provoked by gender-based violence than COVID-19 itself. So that tells us a lot about how even when we were going through a pandemic, there were other big problems that were totally ignored, and today are still ignored. I think that the biggest challenges that women face come from the patriarchal and misogynist type of culture that we live in. I think that's the most harmful thing that we're, you know, I guess, victims to. And I think that's kind of connecting to the last answer. We are raised to become mothers. We are raised to think that we live in a world that is just, and that, even if it's not perfect, if you work hard enough, you will get there. And that is a lie. I think that's the biggest lie that the world and our parents can tell their children, and especially their girls, because it's not like that. Maybe in school, maybe in college, but then when you go to the workplace, everything's different. You're discriminated because of your gender. You're discriminated because of your race. You're discriminated because you might become a mother. So all these things, just affects the way we live our lives, and the way and the opportunity for us to dream bigger, because you can tell your children you can dream as much as you want, like dream big. Yeah, dream big, but you're lying to your children, not telling them that even if they dream big, they will face challenges, because we live in a very unjust society. So I think that one of the biggest problems in terms of that is that there is a lack of education on gender equality, both in schools and in homes, and I think that should change.
Very rightly mentioned by you. Even I resonate a lot to the points that you shared, which takes me to another interesting discussion on. So because you have been a part of a lot of UN bodies and have been actively working on the areas of women empowerment. So, what do you think, or what, according to you, are some of the policy level interventions that can help us in making a more equitable and a just society? So, what are some of the actions that should be taken so that we see a reduction in the problems at the policy level? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, there's not much that the UN can do more than just proposing policy recommendations to countries, and that's, I think, that is both a good thing but also a challenge. A good thing because obviously we have to respect each country's culture and, for foreign policy. But it's also a challenge because a lot of countries, based on the excuse that like any policy might go against their culture or foreign policy, are putting at jeopardy the security of girls. So policies, just to give you an example, like banning really early marriages, for example, allowing girls to have their own property with the money that they earn, being able to access work and not having to ask for permission to their husbands to be able to work. Other policies would be recognizing women's work at home, which is considered leisure till this day, and also putting in law gender equality, because there are a lot of countries who promote gender equality in their speeches but do not have laws that promote gender equality. So I think that it is a two-way commitment. You know, you have UN Women and the UN in general supporting, giving recommendations, telling countries what to do, but also you need countries to actually respond to these requests and recommendations.
Great. I think that's something really powerful that you have mentioned, and it is very much needed in the present time. So that's really inspiring, Laura. And particularly, I resonate a lot to the things that you have mentioned, because there have been similar things that we have also been observing in our society, which makes me reflect again and again upon these questions. And it's really nice interacting with you to to get to hear from you your perspectives around the same. So this question is for all the organizations who are associated, who are there on our page, who would also be watching our video. So if anyone wants to collaborate with you on the cause, or maybe help, maybe do some kind of an event or a workshop in collaboration with your organization. So what's the step? What's the procedure? How can we go about it?
It's as easy as contacting us, like sending us a DM, an email, anything really, because we're always open to collaborate. I think that's the key point when it comes to making an impact. As like when two organizations or even two people come together, they can create a more impactful change than doing it on their own. So we're always open to collaborations, both at Girl of Venezuela and at United Voices. So yeah, just send us a DM if you have an idea, anything really. Even if you're not an organization, if you're just a youth with an idea, just contact us because we're always happy to help that idea come to real life.
That's really great, and we have a lot of comments in the chat box. Utopia.world says we are here to support and help you. So that's great. Arogyam says, Laura, we can't hear you. Arogyam, you can maybe turn on the audio, your audio a bit, so that the voice is audible. And yeah, so I think we are receiving a lot of response, very good response of regarding collaboration and also working towards the cause, which is a very positive point, which is a very positive thing. So before we come to an end to this wonderful discussion, I want you to share your message to everyone. Okay, so what would be your message, your inspirational message to everyone who is watching the video and who is also going to watch the video?
Sure. So my message is to do it. And I think that's just really cliche. But when I learned about all these challenges, it took me a long time to actually figure out what I wanted to do or how I wanted to do an impact or help make a change. And I think that as long as you are worried about an issue, you have everything you need to start an initiative, an organization, a project. Um, and a lot of people, you know, don't do anything or stay silent or might just keep the idea in their head or let time pass because they think that they don't have resources, that maybe people won't care, that it just won't work. And I think that's the biggest mistake when you are wanting to make a change and start letting doubts, become the main issue in your life. So I just say go for it. You're never ready to do anything until you've started. You will face challenges no matter how prepared or unprepared you are. So the earlier you start, the better it will be, because you will, if you're made to face a challenge, you will face it, one day or another. So just go ahead, make mistakes, create that initiative or project that you have in your head. It will go all right, trust me.
Thank you so much, Laura. That was really inspiring. And with this, we come to an end to our discussion. And it was really wonderful hosting you. We look forward to inviting you in many more, interactions, webinars, and sessions that we host in future. And looking forward to interacting with you on many more occasions. Yeah.
Same. Thank you so much for the invitation. I had a blast.
Thank you so much. So, for all the viewers and our audience, this recording will be available on our page, and you can definitely get in touch with Laura. I'll be tagging her Insta handle. You can directly get in touch with her in case you have more questions, more doubts, and in case you would like to reach out to her for further collaborations. Yeah. Over
Sure, that's
over
fine.
now. Looking forward to many more sessions. Thank you, Laura.